Hello, friends. Welcome to the channel. Today, what I want to talk to you guys about is something very, very simple, and that is rationality. The number one thing that I want to do today is to just let you know that the most important thing that you can do investing is to stay rational. That's all you need to do, really. Just remain rational. Here's the thing that happened in the last year. Prices kept going up. And why did they keep going up? Well, the reason is people had money and they decided to start pumping it into the market. And everybody got rich, right? Rich. And that sort of created a problem, right? And the problem was that as people entered the market, it pushed and pushed and pushed up prices. And what were they doing really? They were seeking yield. That's what everybody was doing last year. I think that's the problem, right? Is they saw the market going up. You see that with cryptocurrencies. You see that with the stock market. Everything is going up. And so they just keep pushing the price up and up and up. But here's the thing. Ultimately, rationality will prevail. Why? Because if it's irrational, it's irresponsible. Period. No matter what you say, an asset is not worth an infinite amount of money. Someday, you have to rectify the books. Somebody's going to realize this is overpriced, right? And they're going to pull their money out. And then that's going to cause somebody else to go, hey, the price went down. I'm getting out too. And it creates a snowball in the opposite direction. And here's the thing. It takes a while to push and push and push and push the asset prices up. It doesn't take very long for people to start pulling their money out. At first, it's a little bit of greed. Then it's a little bit, and it slowly transforms into, it starts with profit taking, and then it slowly starts to unwind, and it becomes fear, right? Because here's the thing. If somebody sells at the top, that means somebody else bought at the top, right? Somebody said, yes, this asset is worth this much money, and it might be worth this much money, right? There's a big discrepancy there. And so people pull that money out and it's gone, right? And it was a mistake to buy it way up here, is kind of the point. And that's a really hard thing, right? When you're the person who bought at the top, to say, yeah, I made a mistake, right? It's very easy to say, oh, I was gambling. People gamble in the stock market. They gamble in the cryptocurrency market. They use leverage to make things go bigger and badder and harder and faster. But it's not real, right? The problem is it's just not real. And people lose money. It happens, right? That's just the market. And the thing that I would say, the most important thing for you guys to remember, and very critical to remember, is one thing and one thing alone. Stay rational. And the best way to stay rational is to do some sort of objective valuation. Now, I'm not saying that's the end-all be-all of investing. There definitely is something to be said about looking at products and looking at the story of the company and understanding where the company is going to go. But without good, solid valuation work, which boils down to doing something like a discounted cash flow model. And don't talk about multiples and industry multiples and all that sort of stuff. All that's really saying is that you're going to apply a discounted cash flow type model, but you're too lazy to actually do the math, right? Different multiples will correspond to different assumptions that you put into a discounted cash flow model. That's why certain industries command higher multiples. Those industries are expected to grow faster, right? That's what creates those higher multiples for that industry. So don't take that lightly, right? Like it's fine to do that, right? Just know that that's what you're doing. You're using some sort of implicit discounted cash flow model. So if you recognize that one fact, and that one fact alone, that in order to stay rational, you need to have you need to do math, right? Because the human creature is not rational, right? And I say that as somebody who studies the rational mind, right? The rational person. It's very often that human psychology gets in the way and that people are not rational. And so you need to work to be rational. And that's really, really hard. The number one thing you can do to combat yourself when you're investing your own irrationality is to sit down with a pen and paper or a spreadsheet, blah, 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 right? Whatever. But to sit down and actually do the math, right? What is this thing worth? And if you do that one thing, you will be a better investor than 99% of people out there that sort of go with their gut. Now, I want to say something. There's nothing wrong with being irrational in the stock market, as long as you recognize that you're being irrational. Because the problem is that you don't recognize that you're being irrational. That's why Benjamin Graham made a distinction between an investor and a speculator, right? He actually says in The Intelligent Investor that it's fine to speculate. Go ahead. But recognize it for what it is. It's entertainment. You're gambling. It's like you're going to Vegas, right? Investing is not the same as trading or speculating. You need to make sure that when you are investing, that you are actually investing. It's very important. And the way that you know that you're investing, rather than speculating, rather than trading, is to do one thing, and that's to do your math, do your homework. There are other aspects to investing. You need to understand the company. You need to understand the story. You need to be able to see where it's going. You need to understand the moat around the company. All of that is important to investing, right? But if you're not doing that, if you're not making those decisions in a rational way, and you're just looking at those things, it's very easy to become irrational and assign an infinite price to an asset. And assets are never infinitely priced. They are valued at the present discounted value of all future cash flows. That's it. That is the definition of the value of an investment. Whether it's a bond, whether it's a stock, whether it's a piece of real estate, that's it. It's the numbers. The story just informs you about growth rates and things like that you put into your models, and your expectations around those things, and your standard deviations around those things. All of those things are very important as well, because the story informs all of that. And you can refine your models and understand the business and know what to do more closely if you do those things, right? If you understand those things. But assets are not worth an infinite amount of money. And that's the number one thing that I have to say to you. And because they're not worth an infinite amount of money, you can look into the past and you can make some conservative assumptions and say, by doing your valuation first, before you understand anything about the company, whether it's worth your time to dive into those stories. Is it worth your time to look past the numbers? Is it worth your time to dig deeper into the numbers, to understand what is actually going to drive the growth of a company in the next 3, 4, 5 years? And if you can do that, right, you will be a great investor. I'm not saying that you'll get great returns, but you'll be a great investor because you are actually investing, whereas a lot of people who participate in the market are speculators, they're gamblers, they're traders, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Those types of people supply liquidity to the market, and that is a good thing. And you should be rewarded for those things. And people are often rewarded for those things. And it's great that they're there supplying liquidity. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But just recognize that when you are actually speculating, and when you're actually investing, and when you're trading, and when you're investing, right? Your mindset is different over here versus over here. That is the important thing that you need to remember. All right, I've been on my high horse enough today, but that's my message for this week, is stay rational, and I will talk to you guys next week.